When I think of the question, why worship? I asked, Lord, what happens? What happens when we worship? What happens to me? And I heard this. We remember, we return, and we reconnect. The first mention, the word worship, wasn't even used until Abraham's taking Isaac up to sacrifice him. It was after the fall that worship was even mentioned. And I know that in the Old Testament, now we're like, it's been paid for. The sacrifice once and for all has been paid. But in that moment, a blood sacrifice was still required. And I think the idea of worship as we know it now, I do think that it's beautiful. I think this is stunning. I think it's changing the world. I feel so overjoyed to be a part of it. But I think that the practice of worship as we know it has come from this trying to return. We're always trying to get back, because after the garden, it was like there was this need to have a practice that would cause us to remember, to return, and to reconnect. I think that worship in the garden, intimacy. I think that it looked like no space. I think it looked like going for walks, knowing one another fully. I think that was his original heart for us, to stay so close, to be so near, that all of that was just constant. It was in conversation. God, I love you. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love walking with you. I love my life with you. I love everything about you. And I'm so thankful. I think that their conversation, I don't know how you could walk with him in a garden in the cool of day and not spill over with worship anyways, as we know it. And I think he knew that. When you're connected, it's easy to. And I think that because, to some degree, all of this life is us growing up to understand that we need to get little again, that we need to go back. So in worship, when we are in worship, even just in corporate worship, we're all together. We're lifting his name, like the way you feel in the room when every heart is lifted. It's like electric. I just am realizing more and more as time goes on how greatly loved I really am. I am greatly loved by him, and I can't help myself. And the more time I spend going back to the garden, and I'm understanding his original intent for us, his original intent that worship would look like removing all the space. Those moments in worship that we are like, we feel suspended, like your feet aren't on the ground, but you're not there yet, and you just feel like you could explode. That's because it's gotten super thin, and we're returning. returned, it was like, reconnect. He wanted so badly to be close. It's all he ever wanted, was all of me. We worship because he's worthy, but we worship because we worship for our lives. We worship to stay close.